In this video, I'm talking about the counselor for my two kids, Aubrey McDaniel and Alum McDaniel. And their counselor is Erin Dannecker in Monmouth. And she is a paid social worker. I believe Polk County has online payments documented for like $8,500, $8,700 a month. Now the question is she a professional, and is she ethical? Okay, so in 6 years, we're at Thanksgiving right now, and this is 6 years that these two little kids have been in foster care, and they have not spent one holiday with either of their parents, myself or Michu. And I just wonder what kind of counselor, what kind of professional just lets that slide by and doesn't think anything of it. Now, a counselor should be independent of DHS's narrative, and unless they're just working for DHS, but pretending to be something else, like behavioral health, Polk County. And so it would seem that a counselor would look at never giving children a holiday with their parents in 6 years as a kind of child abuse in itself, unethical not to oppose the decisions to prevent children from seeing their parents on holidays. And the other thing is that the American Bar Association states very clearly that it's very important for young children to have frequent weekly contact with their parents. That's not like once a week, that's frequently during the week, particularly in the case of Ape, who was a year and a half old and did not speak English. Her only known language was Aka, and she was intentionally separated from her older siblings by Aubrey Haverkost, who was the caseworker at that time, and along with her older brother, Alum. Now, it was obvious to me at the time that Aubrey Haverkost was setting them up for adoption. So you separate them out, you alienate them. The fact that they go to a home whose language they don't speak or understand is not a problem. And I don't see any mention from Erin Dannecker as a professional that she claims to be, that she had a problem with that, or that she has a problem with infrequent visits, or a problem with the fact that these kids had never been able to spend a meaningful holiday with their parents. And Steve Walls has no problem with any of these issues either. He's the attorney for these two little kids. Now, the kids told me last week that they had seen Steve Walls for the first time in 6 years. And so it makes you wonder, this attorney, Steve Walls, has been being paid by the state of Oregon to represent these two children for 6 years and has only met with them one time to have any idea what they want. Now, the kids have repeatedly asked to spend a night over at their mom's. It's never been done. They have no intention of doing it. It was court ordered and DHS still didn't do it, because they came out very clearly and said, well, their intention really, no matter what else, was adoption. And so Erin Dannecker should be following ethical considerations as a professional, not just whatever DHS's agenda is, whatever their narrative is. And so what's going on here is parental alienation, and it would appear that Erin Dannecker not only has no problem with that she's perfectly fine with it. And so that would be a concern to anybody who was wondering if someone was a qualified counselor or not. I remember that the DOJ attorney, Sara Hernandez, asked me if I thought this was a conspiracy. Well, if you have multiple people agreeing to do something that's damaging to children, I think that's a conspiracy. So if Carissa Vela is okay with them never seeing their parents on a holiday, having limited visits. I think it's like an hour to 2 hours a week combined for both parents. And if she is okay with that sort of thing going on, and you have Steve Wall's okay with it, Erin Dannecker doesn't say anything about it, DHS has no problem with it, the Dallas Oregon office. So you have numerous people that are in agreement that it's okay to do things that are harmful to the children, because parental alienation is harmful to children. So to answer Sarah Hernandez's question, yes, I think you're very good at conspiring, the bunch of you. And so the kids have ATVs at their farm, and they have been prevented by DHS from using them. It's been over a year since they were gotten for those two children. And the children know they have ATVs, and they're prevented from using them. And these are age appropriate ATVs from the standpoint of safety. They have their own helmets, the whole thing. But the goal is to make sure that the children have as few meaningful experiences with their parents as possible. And so you have Judge Hill ruling that DHS has made reasonable efforts. So when a year and a half went by from the time DHS was ordered to provide overnight visits for the two little children with their mom, DHS never did it. And Judge Hill called them out for not doing it, but he still said that they made reasonable efforts. So basically, we have a situation here with gross levels of corruption. And Erin Dannecker should be aware of what's going on. And it would seem that someone with the most basic level of conscientiousness or ethics would see glaring things wrong with this situation, where Carissa Vela gets to take the kids anywhere she wants, gets all the holidays, and the kids get little to nothing with their parents. And then they change the plan to adoption and think that that's going to work out. So these kids are going to grow up, and they're going to learn what Erin Dannecker was a part of and how she colluded with DHS and Carissa Vela to deprive these children at every level from having meaningful time with their parents. And in a few years, they're going to be grown up, and they're going to know who the players are. And how's that end game going to work out? So here you have someone getting paid $8,500 a pop, and she is part of a practice, part of a agreement to allow harmful things to these children, and they're going to find out about it. So that's what we have going on right now with these kids. So it will remain to be seen what comes of all this. Now, I'd like to just go back a little bit. These two kids were separated from their older siblings and put in a home where no one spoke their language. And this was, as I mentioned, Aubrey Haverkost doing early on. And I think what she said at the time was they can learn their language when they grow up. That was the level of intelligence that we have in Polk County with social workers and DHS workers. And so I don't know, it appears that being a social worker doesn't take any ethic requirements. And I don't think that anybody who watches this video would find it complimentary that you've allowed this treatment of the children. And I think I had one visit with you and you commented there weren't going to be any more visits because I talked about what DHS was doing to my kids. Well, if you are going to censor a discussion, how can you possibly be an ethical counselor? People come to talk about what they see is going on, and if you're not interested, then you don't even qualify for a night watchman, let alone a counselor of children. And so I have a good relationship with my kids, and we have a lot of fun. And the other thing is how you could possibly go along with the way things are being done. When I look at the photos that Michu has of her times with her children, with her two younger children, there are hundreds and hundreds of photos, things that she's bought for them, meals she's cooked for them, things they do together. And then we have, of course, the caseworkers and the SSAs who do their best. After Shannon left, and she was really good, she was a very kind person. Then we've had Bev Boatman and Tina, and they just constantly interfere in the visits. And so it's not a peaceful environment because they're agitating, finding fault, interfering. You can't feed your kids like this, you can't feed them like that. And they're not exactly examples of dietary health. So anyway, it's very unfortunate that people get into these positions and they are paid well, and then they have a total lack of understanding of ethics or why parental alienation is not okay, and they go along with it. And the kids will grow up. They'll find out what you've done. I've got great kids. They're a lot of fun, and they'll grow up and they will be well informed of the names of the people who kept them from going home and who restricted them from having a fulfilling relationship with their parents. And that's on you, Erin. Normally we have our visits on Wednesday, and this week, Wednesday fell the day before Thanksgiving. So lo and behold, the kids didn't come because they were sick. So basically, anything that you want to cook up, you automatically have Steve Wall's approval and DHS's approval and cooperation to pull it off. Now that Christmas comes on a Monday, 25th, Tuesday, I think we have here the 26th, and Wednesday, the 27th. So since the kids told us that you already have all the holidays planned out for them to be with you, I would wonder if the kids show up on the 27th or if that's canceled too. Now remember, this isn't going away, and the kids will be informed what y'all been up to, and you have to ask yourself how it's going to turn out, and the integrity or lack thereof of what you're doing. Like I say, and kids told me the other day that they just seen Steve Walls. Well, 6 years he's been being paid to be their attorney, and apparently hasn't met them but one time. Must be nice to get paid every month and do very little. So I'll come out in the end, and I wonder under which church rock you'll hide the things that you did to our children and to our family in cooperation with DHS, CASA. There's not like ours, the only family that this has been done to. So I guess if we need collaborating information, we can show the kids that this was being done to families all over. And just so happens that you're the participants in this particular trauma. Things always come out in the wash, and the viewership on these videos will just continue to grow. I would not try to keep anybody's children from having a good relationship with their parents or parent if it was a separation or divorce. I don't think that is beneficial to the children. So, a word to the wise. Ulysses Vela. I'm curious, are you okay with everything that goes along with your church, with ripping off people's children for adoption, and you have no clue, you've never met the family, you've never talked to their parents, but are you okay with it? That's my question to the Vela clan. Independence, Monmouth Church, are you okay with it? Because if you knew the full story and you knew the sorrow involved, what would your church people say in your congregation who all stood by while this happened if they knew what was going on? That they knew that Carissa Vela takes every single holiday for herself. She does everything in her ability to isolate the children from their parents in cooperation with CASA, Steve Walls, DHS, and turns a blind eye to the incredible injustice that's being perpetrated. And I just wonder if you're okay with that, because it speaks more and more to the corruption in the so-called Christian church, the cooperation with inhumanity to other people, that every member of your church should know what's going on, that Aubrey McDaniel and McDaniel are not for sale, and that we will not stop fighting for them, and we will not stop publicizing what you all are involved in, cooperating with, and giving your consent to. Think about it.